January 9th, a winter morning in Montgomery, 1861. The air thick with talk and tension, the city a furnace of pride and uncertainty. Inside the Capitol's white dome, 61 delegates gathered around wooden desks, ink and conviction flowing faster than the Alabama River below. The vote was cast, the document signed. Alabama had left the Union. Cannon shook the riverfront in salute, flags unfurled from balconies, and crowds filled the streets crying independence. But beneath the cheers, another sound lingered, the quieter tremor of a nation breaking apart. 39 men refused to sign. They stood silent as the ink dried, knowing that the thunder of those cannons would echo for generations. Yet even then, the land held older voices, long before the speeches and smoke. The Choctaw word Alabama had drifted through the forests and rivers, spoken by traders and travelers who knew this soil by another name. It meant a people, a gathering, a place where paths meet. And perhaps that name carried its own prophecy, that Alabama would always be a meeting ground of cultures, of conflicts, of endings that somehow began again. 100 years later, January 9th carried a different thunder. 1963 had opened a door, but it was 1964 and beyond when courage walked through it. At the University of Alabama, Vivian Malone and James Hood stepped beneath the archways that once barred them by law and by hate. The weight of history pressed heavy on their shoulders, but they did not bow. They walked steady, each step a sentence, rewriting the old Declaration. Where once men had signed for secession, now 2 students signed their names to the promise of equality. The world was watching Alabama again, and this time the story was one of bravery, not rebellion. Time kept its march. January 9th, 1984. The cold morning air of Huntsville crackled with a different kind of fire. At the U.S. Space and Rocket Center, the Space Camp Hall of Fame opened its doors. Children looked up at the sky, seeing not division but possibility. The heroes honored, there were explorers, men and women who had slipped the bonds of earth and carried Alabama's spirit into the stars. Where once cannon smoke had clouded the horizon, now rocket trails painted it white. Huntsville's engineers and dreamers stood as the new delegates, signing not with ink, but with invention. And as the century turned, the same spirit of exploration shifted from the stars back to the body itself. January 9th, 2020, researchers at UAP worked through long nights, their labs glowing blue in the darkness. They mapped the unseen, broke barriers in medicine, and sent healing into the world the way Huntsville once sent rockets. Each discovery another declaration, not of succession, but of connection. January 9th had come full circle, once a date of division, now a day of daring. From the ink of rebellion to the ink of research, from the footsteps of courage to the footprints on the moon. Alabama had turned the page. closely on that day, and you can still hear them all. The cannons by the river, the Choctaw traders whispering Alabama, the steady steps of Vivian Malone across the campus lawn, the hum of rocket engines in Huntsville, and the quiet click of microscopes at UAB. Different sounds, but the same song. A song of people who refuse to stop creating, refuse to stop reaching, refuse to stop believing that what was once broken can still be made whole. January 9th, from secession to the stars, from division to discovery, Alabama keeps moving forward beneath the same sky, rewriting its own story.